No, this is not things you might have heard, but we are talking about things for Saturday, June 14th, 2025. Things that did happen yesterday, as today is the 15th. But these are two big stories that we were looking into to expect them to happen to be the highlights of the weekend. Another one snuck in to join the fray. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the two big ones were, of course, the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, older than our nation, by the way, and the No Kings party across the nations. And they could be seen as a party. Let's start off in Trump land, or D.C. specifically, and the parades. Now, the Trump military-style parade, we're calling it that because it was not going to be a parade until Trump said, hey, let's have a parade, happened on the 14th. It marked both the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army's founding, starting as a couple of rifle corps to begin fighting in the Revolution, and Donald Trump's 79th birthday. Since it fell on that day, let's have a big party. Let's have a parade. The problem was, in D.C., noticeably low attendance. A man who's really big on crowd sizes can't really do much to dispute the crowd size. The official claim was 250,000 supporters. The official claim. Independent estimates suggest far fewer showed up. In fact, pictures from the other side of this pavilion, if you will, shows that not many people were hanging out watching the parade. Many empty seats were visible in the stands as well. Poor weather contributed to the subdued atmosphere, plus other things we'll get to in a moment. Now, it featured tanks, troops, and military vehicles, even robot dogs, but spectators described the mood as lackluster. One observer called it listless and low energy, words that Donald Trump does not like to hear. Critics also pointed to the authoritarian overtones that compared it to unsavory other places that do these things. Russia, North Korea, China, France. Well, France isn't authoritarian, but they have a lot of history in Bastille Day with what's going on there. Here, Trump just wanted to have a parade when he was told last time, we don't do this. This time, no one's there to say we don't do this. We did it. We celebrated his birthday, and you have this. Meanwhile, across the nation, in 2,000 sites across the nation, the national No Kings movement came up as a grassroots response to Donald Trump himself. And it's just sort of just a coincidence that it was on this day. It was set this day because it was Flag Day, more or less. But the coincidence that they decided to have it on the anniversary, on the birthday party, because that's when things came about. However, to contrast, the anti-Trump demonstrators did what they could do under a nationwide banner called No Kings. It's a movement that had a lot of following, a lot of people going for it, with events taking place in about 2,000 locations from New York to Philadelphia, small towns all over the nation. Seattle saw protests turn up about 70,000 in their spot. Philadelphia hosted a flagship march that was in front of the Rocky Steps, and they did all they could. While most No Kings gatherings were peaceful, a few in Los Angeles, as you may expect, and Portland, oddly enough, escalated a bit. In LA, about 20,000 protesters began with calm marches, but later confrontations with police triggered tear gas, and unlawful essential declaration made it what you expect. Of course, Los Angeles already dealing with its own protests / riots from the anti-ICE protesters and ICE raids, which made this one a bigger deal there. These protests were near, but not exactly where they were over there. But as Los Angeles is basically like, yeah, we're tired of this mess, they went full force pretty quickly. Oh, by the way, if you see this man, Vance L. Butler, many folks in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and around the area want to know about his whereabouts because he killed some people in a very gruesome manner yesterday. We have another video explaining his deal, so we're not going to go deep into this, but this was the third story that would have been the top story if it was a boring weekend, but it overtook everything and will be a part of the conversations for weeks to come. No Kings in the parade will die down pretty quickly by Monday, Tuesday, once the full slate of real news is on, real news, daily news, you will. But we're going to talk about this actual dealings until we find him or until we have some sort of resolution going forward in this one. This is going to take some time. However, Saturday, June 14th is a day that will basically have a contrast in low parade turnout and high participation, that's a word, across the nation, signaling an unrest with how things are working and not quite thumbs up for how things are working. The administration's direction is showing an increasing number of people who want to be a part of the rally. Technically, I was in the rally. I drove by going in town back home. We were in hometown this weekend, and the rally was there. I was like, oh, there's a rally, and we kept on going. But they were well attended. They were well publicized. Somewhere near you, there was probably a No Kings rally that had some momentum. And somewhere near you, there might have been a bit of pushing and shoving, probably not as much as in Portland or in Los Angeles. They have their own issues with these protests already. A strong movement to say we don't exactly like how things are going, plus poll numbers, and a very not strong showing with the parade, which as it was, because it had to condense it, squeeze it together, make it all work to get in because of the weather coming in. It was lackluster. What do you think? How was your Saturday? Did you get something out of the parade? Just something out of watching demonstrators all day? Do you think the two together as a split screen was something good to see? Or would you just enthralled in the murder in Minnesota and how that played out so early in the morning and all day on Saturday? Let me know what you think about all day Saturday in the comments.